What are some of the strangest decisions that influencers make? Let's get right into it and start with number 6, Bali Adventure. Kelsey Foster's vacation to Bali was cut short after sustaining a leg injury that got infected. Foster was walking through Bali's famous Legian Street shopping district when she slipped on a tile and rolled her ankle. At the time, she thought it might be a sprain, but didn't want that to stop her vacation. Soon after the injury, Foster was sitting in a tattoo artist's chair for a large tattoo on the wounded leg. The process took 12 hours, and by the end, she feared her earlier fall might have done more damage than she realized. Thankfully, Foster had purchased travel insurance and was quickly flown back to Australia. She went to a hospital to get her leg checked, where she learned the full extent of her injuries. Foster had fractured of her foot and tore a ligament in her ankle. She had to wear a boot, which caused her even more issues. The tattoo also didn't respond well to the injury and became severely infected. People tried to blame the tattoo shop for unsanitary practices, but Foster quickly denied the blame. She insisted the infection was due to the severity of her injury and due to the boot she had to wear. Boot kept rubbing at the tattoo and wearing it so much it prevented the skin from healing. Although Foster was in excruciating pain, she couldn't take painkillers. Doctors told her the painkillers would complicate matters if she had blood clots. Earlier in her trip, Foster donated food to a children's orphanage in Bali. She dropped off essentials like noodles, cooking oil, and rice, as well as candy and toys. Foster went to a local family-owned store to purchase the items and took donations from Australian friends to give to the orphanage. With 7,000 followers on Facebook, she wanted to use her platform to help people. However, people online were unimpressed by the charitable act after she posted pictures of the visit online. Some saw Foster's good deed as using disadvantaged children for a photo opportunity, pointing out that she wore a revealing dress for the photos. She defended herself by pointing out that it was also 91 Fahrenheit and humid. While Foster had critics, she also had followers that jumped to her defense to say that the posts she made had nothing to do with what she wore and were about the orphanage instead. Number 5, Mazini. Disgraced influencer Jay Mazini once ran a popular Instagram account until he was discovered to have swindled millions of dollars from investors as part of a Ponzi scheme targeting New York's Muslim American community. Mazini, whose real name is Jabara Igbara, was best known for his viral stunts where he would hand out large amounts of cash and had almost 1 million followers on Instagram. He once teamed with rapper 50 Cent to hand over $30,000 in cash to workers at a Burger King in Queens, New York, as a thank you for their hard work during the pandemic. In January 2021, Mazini started buying Bitcoin from other social media users at 3.5% to 5% over market value. He offered to pay $52,000 for one Bitcoin worth $47,000. Mazini explained that traditional Bitcoin exchanges limited how much he could purchase, so he was willing to pay higher prices. When it came to the transactions, Mazini would send his victims documents, including images of wire transfer confirmation pages, to confirm he sent a wire transfer to their accounts. When the wire transfers never arrived, his victims launched complaints. The influencer has claimed his net worth was $33 million, so he could easily pay the inflated prices. It was eventually discovered that his bank account was a little short by about, $33 million. Mazini faced charges of wire fraud. However, it wasn't the only criminal case Mazini would have to fight. In March 2022, Mazini pleaded guilty to 1 count of first-degree kidnapping after a man named Amjad Mashal online threatened to expose Mazini's crimes. The severity of his charges meant he could potentially spend decades in prison, but Mazini negotiated a plea deal with prosecutors for a 5-year prison sentence instead. Mazini decided to kidnap and intimidate his opponent, tracking him down in northern New Jersey and taking him for a not-so-fun drive that ended with an assault. He had 2 accomplices, and one of the 3 threatened to kill the victim if he called the police. Surveillance footage captured Mashal's failed attempts to run away, only to be dragged back to the car by by Mazini's accomplices. The three kidnappers left Marshall beaten and without clothes. Marshall made the shocking decision to recant his original statement to police after being bribed with a $100,000 payment in return for a new statement that would help release one of his attackers from jail. Authorities charged Marshall with accepting a bribe to change his statement. Mazini's wife allegedly gathered personal information about the judge and prosecutors involved in her husband's case. Investigators seized her phone data and discovered she had thoroughly researched the judge's family history in order to intimidate. A week after Mazini's kidnapping charge, federal authorities also revealed Mazini's participation in another multi-million-dollar Bitcoin scheme. They accused him of soliciting crypto from followers at a rate higher than market value, but never reimbursed any of his victims. Mazini made at least $8 million in the scam, money he spent on personal expenses and gambling. He ran a Ponzi scheme through his company, Halal Capital, between 2019 and 2021. His victims would give him money to invest, which he used for personal expenses and to fuel his Bitcoin scam. Mazini agreed to pay $2.56 million to one of his followers for 50 Bitcoins, but only sent $500,000. Mazini pleaded guilty to wire fraud conspiracy, and money laundering, agreeing to forfeit over $10 million in property, $5 million in restitution, and $500,000 in fines. He faces up to 10 years in prison. Someone should influence him to stop scamming. Number 4. Born Again. The state of Texas sued social media influencer Brittany Davis over fitness plans she created that violated consumer protection laws and took advantage of followers with eating disorders. Davis sold online fitness packages through her business, Brittany Dawn Fitness LLC. Plans cost up to $300, and thousands of consumers purchased them. Customers thought they would receive individual plans, but that wasn't the case. Davis was also supposed to provide coaching and check-ins, which didn't happen, minus random messages that offered encouragement but weren't personalized. Customers felt misled and sought refunds, but Davis ignored their requests, and if anyone complained about the situation on social media, she would delete their comments. Davis claimed to have struggled with an eating disorder and used nutrition and exercise to help herself heal. Clients believed they would see similar results, but her plans just pushed weight loss, even for people that didn't need it. At least 14 women suffering from eating disorders reached out to the fitness influencer looking for help overcoming them. Davis posted YouTube videos about her eating disorder struggles and offered links to nutrition and fitness plans. The seemingly informative nature of her posts and the links she provided made consumers believe she was qualified to handle these conditions. She wasn't. Some of Davis's clients needed to gain weight rather than lose, but she still encouraged them to follow restrictive nutritional plans. Several clients almost fainted from inadequate nutrition while participating in the program. Davis only provided clients with cardio exercises and low-calorie macronutrient suggestions that inevitably led to weight loss. She posted an apology video in February 2019, but alleged that clients had been harassing and threatening her. In an appearance on Good Morning America, she said she wanted to provide refunds to people who felt misled by her plans. Davis only offered partial refunds and took down her fitness website, bdawnfit.com. The lawsuit also alleged that she charged shipping fees for her products despite being digital. Complaints about Davis's business practices began to flood the Attorney General's office in March 2019. In April 2020, Davis applied for a Paycheck Protection Program loan of $20,800 for her fitness business. Davis eventually took down her apology and other videos. She changed her content from being fitness-focused to sharing Christian-related content. Despite the outrage around her fitness plans, Davis has amassed a massive following on her social media channels. She moved from Dallas to Fort Worth, claiming she needed to leave the city as it was too materialistic. Davis began hosting She Lives Freed retreats, an extension of her She Lives Freed Instagram profile. Customers paid $125 a ticket, which did not include boarding. Her attempts at separating herself from the controversy didn't work. Attorney General Ken Paxton filed the lawsuit against the influencer in February 2022, where they sought up to $1 million in damages. Looks like her meal plan ultimately included an indictment sandwich served with a side of justice. Number 3. Only insurance scams. SHAWNA Lynn Palmer, a beauty contestant, faced workers' compensation fraud allegations after investigators discovered her social media posts. Palmer claimed to have fractured her toe while working as a supermarket clerk. She alleged she couldn't put on a shoe or stand for extended periods. Palmer reported multiple visits with her doctor, who referred her to a specialist. Supposedly, she was barely able to walk. Then, a YouTube video surfaced of her participating in the Miss Toyota Long Beach Grand Prix beauty pageant, where Palmer strutted across the stage in high heels. A week after the pageant, she returned to the doctor complaining about pain in her foot and left on crutches. Days later, Palmer posted other photos of herself participating in more pageants and events on Facebook. Her social media posts gave investigators proof that she was lying. She pleaded guilty to one misdemeanor count of workers' compensation fraud and was sentenced to 36 months of probation and 50 hours of community service. Additionally, she had to pay $5,000 in restitution and a $1,000 fine. That's a pretty big bill she's gonna have to foot. Number 2. Guaranteed returns. Instagram influencer Haider Atef was arrested in Cairo, Egypt, and accused of defrauding vast sums of cash from over a dozen people. Atef gained 2.5 million Instagram followers with her fashion content, sharing over 1,500 posts where she wore outfits from the biggest designers in the world. Atef claimed she could help invest people's money in the stock market and give them a return of up to 200%. Victims handed over $40,000 with the expectation that they would see high returns. However, the scammed investors never saw a profit on their money or even a return on the original amount. Atef was arrested alongside her husband Bilal Mahmoud and her sister-in-law and sister-in-law's husband. Police received reports that the four scammers, Atef, her husband, and her former in-laws, pretended to own a group of companies that operated across various sectors like real estate, vehicles, and securities trading. Atef's mother posted several live streams claiming that thugs kidnapped her daughter. She also claimed that Atef's daughter was endangered, but authorities clarified they arrested Atef over the fraud allegations. Atef's mother also claimed that Mahmoud had access to all of Atef's bank accounts and was behind the fraud. Mahmoud's family initially claimed he'd taken his own life, but later, news broke he had been arrested. Before entering police custody, he had been hiding out in a rented apartment. Atef filed for a divorce from her husband following interventions from her family. Her legal team hoped the divorce certificate would persuade prosecutors that she had nothing to do with her husband's scheme. She alleged that she had no idea of the fraudulent behavior her husband carried out through her accounts. Rumors circulated that Mahmoud paid $345 million in cryptocurrency through the fraud, but his lawyer denied those claims. 16 people reported Atef, Mahmoud, and Atef's sister-in-law to the Cairo Security Directorate. The investigation is ongoing. With all of these claims of innocence, these Egyptian scammers must have been living in denial. Number 1. No coming back. Model and influencer COURTNEY CLENNEY had a massive amount of followers on her social media accounts, but that couldn't save her after a fight with her boyfriend turned deadly. From the outside, CLENNEY and her boyfriend, Christian Ombumseli, seemed perfect. CLENNEY was a successful social media influencer, and Ombumseli was a cryptocurrency trader. They lived in a luxury Miami apartment, but their lives were very different behind the scenes. CLENNEY and Ombumseli often fought, sometimes in public, and there were times when their arguments became violent. In April 2022, they had a fight in their apartment that ended with CLENNEY going after Ombumseli with a knife. Unfortunately for Ombumseli, the results were expected and catastrophic. Following the fatal incident, CLENNEY went to rehab in Hawaii for her substance issues and post-traumatic stress disorder. Her time in Hawaii was cut short when police arrested the influencer, assisting the U.S. Marshal Service and following through on an arrest warrant issued by Miami-Dade County in Florida. Prosecutors wanted to keep CLENNEY behind bars as she was a flight risk. The model rose to fame via her OnlyFans account, a job she could do anywhere in the world. If she left the country, she would still be able to make more than enough money to support herself. CLENNEY made $966,692 on the racy website in 2020 and $1.8 million in 2021, as well as the money she pulled in from her other social media accounts. CLENNEY's defense attorneys argued she acted in self-defense. The couple's relationship was often tumultuous. Some of CLENNEY's Instagram posts showed bruises from Ombumseli's on her hands. During the investigation, other incidents from before Ombumseli's passing came to the surface. CLENNEY was arrested in Las Vegas in 2021 after throwing a glass at Ombumseli. Texts between the pair referenced other times she had attacked him, having used a sharp weapon to cut his leg and hitting him with a phone. Despite their issues, the couple moved from Texas to Miami, but things didn't improve. Ombumseli started recording CLENNEY's outbursts, including a video of her hurting him in an elevator. After Ombumseli's Mazini's passing and before Clenny's arrest, she made some suspicious money movements. She transferred $1,134,000, $121,000, and $50,000 from her account to her father's. She performed the transfers on April 12, less than 2 weeks after Mbumseli's passing. Clenny and her legal team tried to get her released on bond after her trial and during the hearing. The defense claimed she acted in self-defense. Clenny's father, Kim Clenny, said his daughter's net worth was far lower than what was reported. In his testimony, he contended Clenny had $375,000 equity in her house and $11,000 to her name. Prosecutors alleged Clenny once had $2 million in her account, but her father said she used most of that money to buy a house. Additionally, his daughter spent over $35,000 on rehab, and a considerable amount went toward criminal defense fees. Kim Clenny explained that his daughter wired her money to him for safeguarding, as she didn't always make the best financial decisions. Clenny trusted her father with the money as he was a financial advisor. Prosecutors believe the money movements confirmed their suspicions that Kenny was a flight risk. The prosecution accused Kim Clenny of lying to protect his daughter, something he firmly denied. A representative from OnlyFans made it clear they would not allow Clenny to return to the site should she get out of jail on bond. The medical examiner told the court Mbumseli had just one wound to his chest. At the time of her arrest, Clenny said she threw the knife. During the trial, the prosecution asked the medical examiner if he thought the injury was the result of a thrown knife, which the medical examiner said would be highly unlikely. Miami judge Laura Sheeran Cruz denied Clenny's request to be released from jail before the trial, citing that Clenny was clearly behind the assault. The court didn't find Clenny's claim of self-defense credible with the evidence presented in the hearing. The case is ongoing. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comment section below which social media platform you'd pick if you could only use one platform.